Hey, do you guys see me? Let me know. Prophetic update for the world. Part one. Hey, I got Sebastian, the good dog here. This is a political intercessor outfit, so we're going to talk about that very quickly here. Uh, I had, uh, well, first Deuteronomy 7:17 and 18. Okay? Let's turn to that. So, Lord Jesus, we just ask you to give us your view, the best view, in your name, Jesus. We ask you to take us to that heavenly place to do that in Jesus' name. Okay, this will be the most important one you've ever heard in your life. So Deuteronomy 7:17-18 says, if you believe the nations are greater than I, then how can I dispossess them? So understand this. Doreen, yes, I can see you. Hey. So, Jacqueline, I got your prophetic intercessor, political intercessor, scarf on. I've got my hat somewhere here too. So we're going for it. You are champions. We're winning. Okay. So you know what? Hey, Wayne, good to see you. Bajorky, good to see you. I'm going to leave the hat off because it's a little hot here. But prophetic update on the world. One, these are the best days we're in. So I want to say part one, then I'll get off and I'll do part two, and I'll just get off for a second because I'm going to go live with a few right now, but I will, I got a counseling meeting at 2:30. I need my counseling. I'm a little tilted to the wrong direction. I need my counseling. No, I'm doing great. No, I think it's always good. It's more training and equipping for, I'm going to see my daughter and I'm excited, my granddaughter. And I have graduated. Baba. I'm not going to be called grandfather or Papa. No, Bob was given to me so I could be a Baba. So that's my name. And my granddaughter's name's Gia. So if you have any ideas, I'm going to go in with a poem, a gift, scriptures, anything hits you for this grandbaby, let me know. And I'm going in with some of my hope apparel for her. Hope, don't mope. And I'm going to give it to her progressively as she gets older. And I'm going to bring her into the hope room where we're headed. So we're in comfort room. But this prophetic update on the world. Okay. I know about the world. Okay. I got it all figured out. So now they might mess it up again by Friday, Saturday. So we'll talk again then. Okay. So real quickly here. Hello, Norway. Hello, Wendy. So, just show you my apparel, and I put on a suit coat. I don't know why. I just thought it would be right for this message. So, Doreen, good to see you. Jimmy, good to see you. So what I'm going to share with you, Jimmy, was a little bit of what I was talking about, earlier to you. You'll understand. JJ, I miss you, JJ. Gosh, man. It's been crazy, so I appreciate, and I didn't miss a few. I did these videos that were going to get put up, but we are still working through some technical things. But also, I'm getting a little, I'm sanctioned, and so if you can, or not sanctioned, the opposite. So, so I'll just pray that, I am good with the authorities that are there out there at the present time, that in what I say. So, part one, just I would open up with the scripture, Deuteronomy 7:17-18. If you say the nations are greater than I, then how can I dispossess them? And that's the essence. And so it says that, but it says a little bit more. So quickly, there is this picture of magnifying God versus magnifying the circumstances or the situations. And I'm going to tell you about when I do the next one, it'll be specifically what do I see that's happening in the world? And I believe the only way I would get on and share this if I didn't feel like it added value, real value and heart to the conversation. So, two, I'll share what I see. First, I want to share how do you get to a place where you see according to God's view, not according to the world's view, not according to man's view, not according to journalism, but according to God's view. And so he says, if you believe the nations are greater than I, then how can I dispossess them? Because you won't go to God for the solution, and that trust will fade really briefly. And I think what we saw with the election season and just people's understanding was just the emotional IQ of the body and people going after each other because they felt like people said things that didn't come true. I'm just happy if anybody reaches for his heart in a sincere way. Now, given directional prophecies, I feel like those need to be judged and evaluated. And it's more to see where it went wrong or where it's going right. And, just we would have weekly a string of pearls meetings. And I had it with Bob Jones for many years and others where we just hear what he was seeing. He'd say what he was seeing, and then we'd confer, and then we others would share, and we understood that prophecy sees in part, and so there was a need. Like Bob would say, I'm 33% accurate. The Old Testament standard was you can't do that, but the New Testament, no, it's corporate, and it's helping each other and coaching each other and being understanding. So there's a reason why it's different now, because it's ecclesia, it's church that hears together. And so I want people that obviously have that directional gift to see what they've seen when it's called the spirit of wisdom. And Isaiah 7 or 11. I'm sorry, Isaiah 11, 1 through 3. So it talks about the seven spirits of God. They're angels, but they're also ways of seeing according to the prophetic, and a lot of times it's the angelic messengers that help you with that. This is just going to be a part of our lives. So it's not a question that angels are there to help us and to minister to us. And I would always feel that when I prophesied in situations when I had directional prophecy, I'd always wait for the presence of God that I knew was giving me direction, but also an angelic messenger of hope. It was the first time I saw this color. I was at the biggest church in the world in Korea, South Korea. And, I didn't wait. I've heard, and I haven't read all the revivalists and all that, but I heard they said somebody would wait till the angel showed up. And, well, I'm going to have a class, and it'll really be an encounter time and sharing. Friends, just, Bob Jones said, you got to just equip. So I just haven't liked teaching understandings of how I hear unless they're transferable. And I believe that I understand now how they could be transferable and really helpful. So I'm headed to that. I just energy and build up to do that. So right now, prophetic update for the world is the lens to see through that we know in 2019. For me, I had that there would be this cloud that came over the earth. And I'm going to share more understanding about this. It was a dark cloud. It looked like a mushroom cloud from the enemy. And then I saw crocodiles walking around in the cloud. And that, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll tell you what that means. But it's there to twist. The alligator does a death roll. And so it just is any time you're going to walk into a new season in God. It's 1 Corinthians 16:7. It's a positive thing. There's many adversaries that stand at the door, but if the giants are too big and people don't know how to deal with those giants, God slows us down. And so, we attack some giants. They attack back, and you have to understand how to have halftime and your team's losing to get another strategy and understanding. So I want to give you a new strategy, understanding, and that's really very critical and important. And God identifies it. I'll give you one scripture versus giving you 20 on the subject and explaining it. I count on you to be Bereans and go and see if this is right. So I want to propose to you that's halftime. We're looking at, our past and always looking for the memorial stones. What happened that was good. And then we're praising for the future where we need to make adjustments. So I believe that what happened was we attacked crocodiles with crocodiles. Crocodiles, it talks about Job, the creature of the Nile, and it's a crocodile. And it talks about how they snap on Leviathan, snaps on to your words and just twisted it in death spiral. It's really pretty intense, if you watch those animal movies. And it just can take good, solid people and snap them. I mean, the quickness of a crocodile to get an animal that's drinking out of the side of the water in Africa. And I saw some things in Africa, and I understood animals, living in the bush. So, and just, how you avoid them, but what you can do to overcome them. So, just if we say that he's bigger, the enemy's bigger, the nations are bigger, that means, the world system at that point, then how can we dispossess them? So we got to know our God and our tools. So let me propose this, that we attack crocodiles with crocodiles. And we just bite, and sometimes we twist because it's just making the point bigger and bigger. And I would watch people that just would get a truth about a fact, and then it would turn into a conspiracy. Then it turned into everywhere they looked, they saw it. And it might be pretty well developed, this certain way of doing government or doing business, but you don't see it to get overwhelmed by it. You see it because there's a way for the sweet sticks still to win. So the demon that tries to twist, steal, all of a sudden you lose your spiritual memory, you lose your spiritual history. You're just in a point where your mind is so open to attack and rejection and negation, and the enemy is just overwhelming you. So we're by the grace of God beyond this, and there is a way to live there. Now I have to have support, and so you got to watch my time. But just there was a giant that we attacked, or we just got attacked by, and I want to propose this, that we make a commitment, and it's to Psalms 92, 1 and 2. It's proclaim his love in the morning, and then his faithfulness to that love by night. That we don't let our hope be stolen, because anybody who hopes, it says in him, will not be disappointed, and hopes in his promises. And when we have a disappointment that's really big and looks like it's challenging and continuing, then we got to be aware that there's a bigger promise. So Naomi didn't replace the sourness of life. She wasn't necessarily bitter at a person, but she just got soured on life. And so she'd rather die than live. And so I would propose to you that there's a different approach. And the answer is always not just forgiveness. Forgiveness is not the exact right thing that will work, to forgive those who have betrayed you, you feel like are lied or, manipulating. It's put away all malice, discontentment, put away all slander. It's just not where we operate. And so we don't meet slander with slander. It's just, just not how we operate. Not how anybody should if they want to have life and prosperity. When we restore a promise, we return to a promise or see a bigger promise. And so we have that opportunity right now. And so I propose to you the way to approach this next season, just prophetically, because Bob Jones is one of the greatest things he'd do for me as a younger man here in the Lord, is he would share with me, which I want to do next, what he had seen. Like in my life, I was challenged. I'm leading youth and young adult ministry as a young man. It's just huge across the nations, internationally. I don't have the leadership I need. And then self-strength. I'm just exhausted. And then all of these leaders I raise up, I spent a year. There are 37 of them that are just substantial people. They all we're an international movement, so they get invited to run youth and young adult stuff. They graduated. I wanted them to, but I had not employed them. I want 3 years at least with all that investment in them. And so they all leave, and I just got a new young wife, and I just happen to be gone every night and just exhausted. So I'm at a picnic for the church, and I'm ready to get out of this, And so Bob Jones walks up to the table, and mostly I was feeling the negation, the rejection that many of us are feeling now. That's why I'm applying it, because I thought the leadership was going to rise up, and we were going to advance, and I was going to get to watch, and they were strong, and I was going to get to sport. But what was to be a victory ended up, it seemed like a crushing defeat. So, in my world at that age, it was everything to me. So Bob Jones walks up at this picnic table, and I haven't announced I'm leaving, but I'm done, And so, but the advancements are incredible, and what's happening, and just the new work that's being done, and so, and really we had something to offer the world, which is a different understanding of hope and the God of hope, and a different understanding of who he is, healed and expanded view of him, the knowledge of him, and then just what the future looked like, a hope reformation prophetically. And it was just, it was like another reformation, but it was bigger than the second, and I still believe we're in this, but I'm ready to chuck it out, because as a human being, your flesh, and my body's done, I'm like thinking I'm tired. He walks up to the table, and there's a bunch of us, and he says to me, "How you doing?" And I said, "Yeah, great. I'm lying." And he said, "So you're going to quit?" I hadn't told anybody. And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "All your leaders left." And I said, "Yeah." I said, you invest in them, and they step on your heart with football cleats. They crush you, and they twist." And he said, "You want wine?" And I said, "Every one of them I poured into. I love them. What I do wrong, I'm just a bad leader, and I'm not going to whine like that in front of him." But yeah, I thought I must not be good at this, And he says, "You want to really know what happened?" I said, "No, I'd like to whine some more." And I said, but he said, "No, I'm going to tell you what happened." So he gives me divine perspective. He said, "You graduated. I'm proud of you. You got a first grade class that graduated." And he said, "They're off where they need to be." He started speaking about different ones, and it was awesome. But I'm still left here with no leadership for the next season. And he said, "What happens when you graduate a class?" I said, "You get another one." He said, "You're going to get another one." And he said, "No, have what you sowed into the others and more." And he did. It happened. So I would have quit then. I really would have. I was just, the pressure on my wife. I'm lessening the effect of it here, but read between the lines. It was tough. So, but this was a new grace to share with my wife, and just she was in, So, in to win. She was in to win. So, just update for the world is one. The whole world is looking to approach things differently, because everybody's getting worn out and everybody's getting depressed, and it's just dogs don't like to return to their vomit. Whether it's me, that I've made mistakes, that's a proverb. And the point is that we want to find a better way. And so It does have a level of hatred, a level of intensity. Now, those places, there are places and things going on in our universe, in our world, where it is dark, and it's going to take some work for the light to work in there. So those places you quarantine and you do in prison so they can't hurt others, And there's a certain way you can do that in the spirit. I mean, we are, it's a violent take the kingdom by force. I'm not saying you beat people up, but we understand that, it's like when my son, this big girl trapped him in the tubes years ago and started trying to kiss him. And she was a rough, tough gal, and I beat up kids there. And I didn't know about sixth grader. She's in there. He's in first or second, but he's cute. He looked like his daddy. So she wanted to lay her lips on his lips. But Amy Ann, who's just little, says my pro wrestler dad out here, I wasn't a pro wrestler, but I wrestled, he's going to come in here and get you. And then I can't hear him, so I'm not moving. So she goes to war. And then she goes to war she's just verbal, very good. And she said, here are the consequences if you'd hurt my brother. And it was, the gal just got wore out. And she said, So there's a way to win over a big opponent. And so this is the way we win. We return the sour times that produce bitterness. It just weighs down our soul. And then all of a sudden we're not reaching with the same vibrancy. Is we always have to get a greater promise and reach for that. It's not just forgiveness. It's not just, no, you have to know that you win with a bigger promise. And you also learn where you didn't see correctly. And here's what I want to propose about seeing is in high school, I went to Catholic school. And so there was a lot that was about how bad we were, how bad the world was. I mean, it was like now, but times 10 for me. I just, that frown from the nuns, and especially with me, I had the gift of obnoxiousness. And, you were terrified of God, terrified of life. I go to bed every night thinking, have I done enough to make it? But also we had a civics teacher that showed us devastation in Cambodia. I mean, literally, we're 10th grade, and we're watching these videos of people just being lined up. And I don't want to go into it, but she's taking us through the gas chambers. This is our feeding she felt like it was her job for a semester to wake up us soft Americans that didn't understand the insecurity in the nations. And so, I raised my hand after watching, for months of stuff, and she said, what is it? I said, you know what? This has had the exact opposite effect on me. And I said, because, I knew a little of scripture, and I said, it's basically what are those who set the children's teeth on edge. I mean, the children, if you give them, first thing you teach them joy, delighting in others, delighting in God, and then you tell how to balance it with what's challenges, but you build up such a joy and a delight, and the kid's happy and content that they're able to have a spirit that's like Jesus. He gets slapped on one cheek, he responds with love in the other, because it's just filled with the goodness of God and a perspective. And so, I just said, if we focus on who God is and what he's done versus what the world's doing, I said, isn't that focusing on the enemy and not magnifying God? Isn't that sitting the children's teeth on edge? And there's many more. Woe to those in Isaiah that preach basically hopeless words. And I'll give you different ones that just so, and I think, we got into a season the last 150 years, which was really not this moving forth of the kingdom, but it was cloistering, the evil's coming after us. And there was a reason why that started, to get people that had gotten comfortable, propelled, but it's not the ultimate what motivates people. It's short-term effect, those fears and those terrors. And a lot of people are used to that igniting them in the mornings. They get up, and they got to be afraid to get energy. Well, there's a deeper motivation that's more substantial. And so we get there, and how we get there is one, I want to suggest to you today, you see from a heavenly place. Today, you realize your heavenly citizenship. You will not make it well if you don't get above the issues. If you don't do John 3:12, Jesus said, my feet are on the earth, I'm on the earth, but I'm in heaven. And then he spoke about being the door. So I propose to you to heaven. So I propose to you a shift in your seeing and hearing. And I was talking, I'm jumping, but 2019 we saw, I did, and many of you agreed that there was this dark cloud coming over the earth. But then I saw Jesus coming out of the cloud with gifts that were extraordinary. There were higher levels of tools. And then I saw 2020 was the year of the choice. And it was whether we're going to see apocalyptic devastation and focus on that, or if we were going to see God and his promises and focus on that. And there really is a distinction of the way you bend your life. And so how you see and agree with God and get into the heavenlies doesn't remove you from a planet. It gives you, if you are really, you can go into the first chamber in the Song of Solomon where you're delighting in him, feeds you with raisin cakes, pass out. You see the God who's the redemption. Says, I'm faint, hold me, because that kind of love is God's redeeming love, and it's our first love. But it goes from this, really romantic love, like a new relationship, to mature love. And so then it goes Song of Solomon 2, now come out into the city with me, and, see, well, the watchman beat her at first, but then she goes out and she's able to work through it with Jesus and become stronger. Comes out in Song of Solomon at the end, we know, we're leaning on her beloved. That means she's got mature love, and she doesn't accuse him. She doesn't. Anytime we accuse life, we're accusing him. Anytime we accuse circumstances, we're accusing him. Anytime we accuse others and we see them as having that strength to run our government and those things, we are accusing him, and we're giving the enemy energy. 1 Kings 18, they were also scared, the Israels, that they had feed the battle products of the enemy. The enemy doesn't have any power. It's just if we react with fear, our intensity, or we crocodile it back, and we feed it with fear. How do we not do that? Or we feed it so it gets to be this big ogre. And then, Elijah just didn't do that. He said, I'm feeding who God is and his promises. And, this, you uncircumcised Philistines, this little enemy. So how do we head into this next season? And how do we look at the world? Is, I'm just going to share this from a heavenly place. So I ask you to consider this, okay? I have a friend of mine I'm going to see in a little while, and he says, I haven't asked of the Lord for, 7-8 years. And we're his prayer, and I was brought up with him in the prayer movement. And so I spent 6 hours a day praying, intercession, and it's beautiful. And asking, but there's asking from a heavenly place, but there's more decreeing. So in the Old Testament, I'll back up to one last thing, that, I saw the 3 buildings that are going to build the kingdom. And one building was, the first one was the prayer building, because we build on our knees. And that's where we get energized, but also we release our cry. And it's what changes the earth. It opens it up, and then you move into the activity you need to. But in the Old Testament, they feared God. So they didn't even use his name. So the way they prayed was altogether different. And it was the high priest a lot of times carrying their prayer to God. So it wasn't to a personal God, because that was very presumptuous. It's the God of the fifth scene or the God of blue jeans. And the God of blue jeans is the God that we've learned to know as well. That doesn't treat him irrelevantly. It just says he became human. Very important. And I'm speaking to this because, Jacqueline's asking where your focus is. Because I want Jacqueline to get it and others. So, because what is so important is that God's going to release political intercessors and political hope reformers. And YouTube, this is not bad. This is for everybody and just a way for us to approach the future. So it's not attacking another party or this or that. It's not anything about that. It's about what Jacqueline's saying. My focus here is how do we avoid getting into the teeth of the Leviathan, which is just YouTube, a crocodile that spins our thoughts. It's mental health. I'm speaking to people about spiritual health. But we don't get overwhelmed because curtain has been pulled back. We feel like on the right, on the left, on others, and we've seen a lot of darkness of late. And the social media gives us a wonderful tool to contact each other, but also place for people to release voices that are sometimes not healthy for everybody. So, number one, I opened up with, we need to fear or revere the Lord, and just mankind, we need to esteem one another enough and esteem that internal voice that says, I'd be careful what I hear. And so, number one, Jacqueline, for everybody, I'm talking about a new encounter pathway with God. And number one, he will ask you to choose life or choose to focus on, for YouTube, what's good, or for others, what's God. And so he will be very, very adamant about be careful what you hear. That you can't just ask any question. It's asking questions about how evil other people are, and I know YouTube, you would agree with, that's not what we want to do. We want to listen and see the original design and try and draw that out. And so it's a very different approach, but it's hoping God's ability to lead people or the devil's ability to deceive people. So number one, we choose to obey. And it's ask hope questions, because we are prisoners of hope. So if we don't ask a question outside of hope, our original design, so I'll say, okay, Lord, these people, have you ever been mad at them? Or do you love them? And it's always yes, and I'm getting his heart for somebody that has bothered me or hurt me, but he will always bring out, like the adulterous woman that people get mad at, he'll always bring out the beauty in the original design. And so number one, be very, very careful just to have opinions and have attitudes that you don't have permission to judge in that situation. You owe no man but to love them. And so there's a redemptive, I'll be talking about this enough, the sweet stick. I'm not saying you don't stand up for what's right and you don't have power in that. But in the last season, if you got intimidated and upset, that shows you don't understand his power enough. And the way we don't understand his power enough for what he's doing is we're not asking him. We're not focusing on him. We're, without permission, clicking on the next YouTube video. And you feed your diet on the bad news, and you don't have permission to do that or grace to do that, then you'll lose part of yourself. You'll get tainted. And so I really, really say to people, choose a heavenly perspective and obey. If this causes your spirit to be soiled and versus you seeing a hope, then I would say there's a different way, a different understanding of what you read and what you see. So that's one. Two is, here's your new pathway, because I got to get off for now and I'll really consider this quickly, is be a hopeful, if you're called to this, political intercessor. And some people are to be an emphasis political. I was to be a business person. People say, I have no grace walking that realm, rich people, that center. Oh, I'm done, you guys. Gosh, I got to do this part 2. I got in a meeting. So I'll be very specific, okay? Just let's leave this with stop, spend a few minutes before the Lord and just say, did I obey you? And being careful what I heard. Okay. Love you, and I'll do part 2 in a little while. Okay. And I'll be straight to the point. Okay, bless you. Bye.